Control meeting. It is 11:01 a.m. Dale Miller.
Here.
Nan Baker.
Here.
Trevor McAleer serving as an alternate for Dan Brady.
Here.
Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Ermin Budish. Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
Nicole English serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Lenora Lockett. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, moving on to the minutes from November 23rd. I'm going to make a motion to approve these minutes. Do I have a second, please?
Miller.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Moving on to public comment. Do we have any public comment? You may speak now. Okay, public comment once, twice. No public comment. Moving on to contracts and award.
First item, BC 2020-627, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to an agreement with the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County for mental health services in the Intervention Center for the period January 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $200,000.
Good morning, this is Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. We are asking to amend our agreement with the Adams Board, who provides the mental health services in our intervention center. They do this through Applewood Centers Incorporated, and we pay then the Adams Board, who pays Applewood. This contract will run through the next grant fiscal year, which is 6/30 of 21.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions from the board members on this item? Hearing none, then, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Trevor.
This is Dale.
Hey, Mr. McAleer got you, Councilman Miller, so second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-628, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, requesting authority to prepare amendments to contracts with various providers for evidence-based trauma-informed treatment for child victims and witnesses to violence in connection with the Defending Childhood Initiative project for the period October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, to extend the time period to September 30th, 2021, with Belfair Jewish Children's Bureau for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $10,000, with Applewood Centers for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $10,000, and with Mental Health Services for Homeless Persons Incorporated, doing business as Frontline Service, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $20,000.
Good morning, this is Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety, and as the motion read, the purpose of these agreements are for trauma-informed treatment of child victims and witnesses of violence, and it will help mitigate and treat the impact of experiencing this trauma. These are grant-funded amendments. We did not receive our award until mid-October, at which time we needed to finalize the amendments and then get the accounting set up before we could actually submit for approval. All of these amendments have been submitted, though, in the county's Infor system.
Okay, thank you, Mary Beth. Are there any questions from the board members on this item? Okay, hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second. Miller.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2020-629, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, requesting authority to prepare an amendment to a contract with Mental Health Services for Homeless Persons Incorporated, doing business as Frontline Service, for Defending Childhood Central Intake and Assessment Services in connection with the fiscal year 2021 Victims of Crime Act grant for the period October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, to extend the time period to September 30th, 2021, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $311,178.16.
This contract is funded with the same grant as the previous motion, and this contract is, as the motion says, is for intake and assessment services. They conduct screenings for all children and families that are referred by community partners. The assessment is conducted via the Defending Childhood screening tool.
Okay, thank you again, Mary Beth. Are there any questions from the board members on this item? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second. This is Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank
item.
you.
Next item, BC 2020-630, County Prosecutor's Office submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 3505, which will result in an award recommendation to MNJ Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $43,492 for a state contract purchase of 30 replacement HP EliteBook 850 notebooks and related accessories and 4 HP LaserJet Pro laser printers, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
County Prosecutor? Sharon, do we know who usually would present this?
Pete Zaghetti, he presented at the executive briefing meeting on Wednesday or Tuesday.
I know he answered a question. Board members, do you have any particular questions on this one? Or do you feel we should hold this? I'm open to your suggestion.
This is Dale, and my suggestion would be that we table the item for now and see if we can contact the prosecutor's office and hopefully come back to it before the end of the meeting.
That's a great idea. Maybe one of us can, Mary Beth, or I'm sorry, Sharon, maybe you can send an email or text to them, see if they can join.
Okay.
All right. We will hold this item for now. Moving on then to the next item.
Okay, well, we'll jump ahead to BC 2020-633, Sheriff's Department, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 2742, which will result in an award recommendation to the Sanson Company in the amount not to exceed $2,238 to pay for an overage of fruit, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Tanisha Diggs with the Sheriff's Department. We are requesting approval for the RFP exemption for an overage in fruit that occurred back in the second quarter of this year. The overage was caused by an oversight in the ordering process. The inmate population was down at the time, and the orders were submitted as if the inmate population was at normal levels before COVID. Because of that oversight, there was more fruit ordered than was needed, but all the fruit was utilized. There was no spoilage or waste from that order.
All right, thanks, Tanisha. Are there any questions from the board members on this item? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second. This is Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-634, Sheriff's Department, recommending an award on a purchase order to the Metro Health System in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for reimbursement of litigation and claims expenses for jail operations for the period January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2020.
Good morning. This is Donna Cleo with the Sheriff's Fiscal Division. This is for litigation costs. Basically, Metro Health took out an insurance policy where we are named the additional insured, and through this policy, there are deductibles that have to be met before the policy kicks in, and it's up to $25,000 deductible per claim, and that's what these litigation costs are. We haven't, hit the deductibles, so these are monies that we're responsible for paying per insurance policy. and this will go on through the end of this year, but then my understanding is that we'll probably have to do another purchase order because these litigations continue to go on, so this will probably go through next year also.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Are there any questions from the board members on this item?
Yes, this is Dale, and, my first question to Ms. Khalil is it correct that these are for, costs relating to the jail medical services?
Yes, these are, well,
Mike, this is
Greg,
Greg.
go ahead.
This is Greg Huth. Can I jump in here for a second?
Go ahead, Greg, please.
Yeah, these costs actually aren't for the medical services, rather, this is for, the nurses when they've been named in lawsuits, they were county employees at the time. So when they're named in lawsuits, then the policy that Metro would have obtained would provide cover for them, but since there are employees, we're the ones that need to pay the deductible. So it's not directly for medical services, it's related to legal issues arising out of, medical services provided at the jail, but it's not for medical services per se.
And, under the agreement that we have, is there some maximum amount that the deductible would require us to pay in any given year?
Mr. Councilman, to the committee, my understanding is the max on the deductible is $5 million per year. We haven't come close to hitting that yet.
And, my final question is whether this is a temporary situation related to conditions existing prior to the new arrangement that we developed with Metro on jail medical services, or is this something that's going to be ongoing?
Mr. Chairman of the Councilman, now the nurses out there are employees of Metro. So I think that's what you're referring to, Councilman, as far as the new arrangement. So no, this would only be for the prior arrangement where they were county employees.
Understood. Thanks very much.
Are there any further questions on this item from the board?
This is Nan Baker. Just to follow up with that was the question I was going to ask. So we should not see this come before us anymore. This takes care of past obligations before we contracted with Metro.
My understanding, and I'll let Greg jump in here, but my understanding is like Greg was saying, this was for prior when the nurses were ours, but some of this litigation is still ongoing. That's my understanding. So we may see more of these that is still ongoing. But Greg, go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, Councilwoman, she's correct. It's for the time that these employees, if the incident occurred while these employees or while these nurses were county employees, then this would be our responsibility. But there are claims out there that we're still working through. Or I should say the prosecutor's office and those lawyers are still working through.
All right. Given that we're at the end of this year and this happened a while back, are we halfway through this, or are we?
Oh, geez.
Where are we in this process, or can't you say?
I can't really say because a lot of it depends on what the statute of limitation is for getting the claim filed, things like that. So.
And I will say this too. I know some of these go back to January, but we don't know what these costs are until Metro Health pretty much hands us the invoices. And as soon as we get them, we jump right on it. But we might get invoices that are, months, 6, 7, 8 months old. And again, so when we get them, we jump right on it. But that's why some of them go back to January. That's kind of out of our control.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any final questions from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Trevor. I just have a question for Greg, just as follow-up to what he presented. I understand some of this litigation is still going. I just have a question on the end date of 12/31 of this year. If it's only at the time prior to these nurses becoming Metro Health employees, wouldn't our end date be the date of our new Metro Health contract? Because, right, we're not paying for any litigation and claims expenses for jail operations from that point till now. It's anything that happened prior to that date.
Right, but we would turn to
Is that
the
right?
policy that was in effect at the time the incident happened. We'd have to go back to the policy that was in place at the time. So if something gets filed for an incident, while this policy was effective, we'd have to deal with this way.
But, and I just go back to the end date, my concern about the term that's on the agenda, the end date of 12/31 of this year, right? The new policy went into effect, whatever, January of this year, or something like that, right?
Right, but if the incident if the insured event happened before the nurses became Metro employees, you'd still turn to the insurance policy that was in place at the time of the event. So the 12/31 date at this point is just to deal with the present invoice that we have from Metro.
Right, because I think I know what you're asking, Trevor, but I think it's because this is a new purchase order out of this year's budget from the Sheriff's Department. And if more invoices come in, we will have to do an additional purchase order next year out of next year's budget to pay the additional invoices. I think that's what you're asking me, or am I incorrect? Or asking?
So, okay, what was the date where the last nurse became a mental health employee? At what
Actually,
point this year?
I don't mean to interrupt, but that's not relevant. The date that matters is the date of the insured event. And if that happened before the nurses became Metro employees, then this is the policy that would govern. The policy that's in place at the time would govern.
Right, but it's only good up to a certain point of this year, right? If the date is only relevant to the point when something happened under the old policy, I'm just curious, when's the last day of our exposure under this agreement?
It would be whenever the statute of limitation runs on an incident that would have happened while the policy was in effect.
I understand about the statute of limitations, but it's from a certain date of an incident occurring, and I'm asking when was the last day that nurses were county employees? When did the new policy that we wouldn't have to worry about these expenses? What day did that happen?
I don't know. I can check with HR and get back to you on that. Like, when was the last nurse no longer our employee and was then a Metro Health employee? I don't know the exact date of that. That's an HR question. I can get that for you.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. I'll be sure to email everyone once I have that information.
Thanks, Donna.
Sure.
Okay, hearing no final questions, further questions, I should say, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve this item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lee Tucker. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Moving on. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-635, Sheriff's Department requesting authority to amend Board of Control Approval Number BC 2020-525, dated September 14th, 2020, which amended Board Approval Number BC 2020-323, dated June 8th, 2020, which authorized an alternative procurement process resulting in various purchase orders and award recommendations to various providers for emergency off-site medical services for inmates for the period January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2020, and extended the time period to December 31st, 2021, added various providers effective September 14th, 2020, and provided additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $392,000 by changing the name of Fresenius Medical Care to Ohio Renal Care Group, LLC. No additional funds required.
Good morning again, Tanisha Gates with the Sheriff's Department. We're requesting approval to amend the alternative procurement for outside medical billing from one vendor for Fresenius to Ohio Renal Care. No additional funds are needed. The dates and funding would all stay the same. It's just the vendor's name doing business as Fresenius and Ohio Renal Care.
Okay, thank you, Tanisha. Are there any questions from the board on this item?
Yes, this is Dale. And my only question is whether it's A, that we changed vendors, or whether it's B, that it's the same vendor, but the vendor just changed its name from one thing to the other.
It is the same vendor, so the vendor just changed his name from one name to another.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any further questions from the board? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Miller.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Right.
Item approved. Before we go on to exemptions, has anyone from the prosecutor joined? Okay, sounds like a no.
Mike, this is
Chair, may I
Lenora.
ask, this is Nan Baker, if I can ask a question before we go on to exemption.
Sure.
Back to the, 634, I know you're gonna get back to us on the last date the county nurse, was covered, by the county. Can you also give us, as long as you're researching that, where we're at in, any more outstanding liabilities, for those nurses that were county employees? And then that way we'll know perhaps a better picture of where we're going with this. And then also we know when the last date was, so that we know past that date, there shouldn't be any more. Can you just maybe give us a little bit more detail on that, so when we come back to that, in the future, we have a better idea of what we're paying for?
Councilwoman Baker, this is Donna. I will get you, I will talk to the prosecutor's office and to Greg again, and I'll get you anything that they're allowed to give me, because I know some of it, that they told me they couldn't disclose certain things about these cases, but whatever information I can get you regarding this, I will. And I'll send it.
I'm not looking for names or.
Right.
I'm just more looking for, exposure as to how much more we think we're going to have to be accountable for. Not so much any detail behind that.
Oh, I will, yep, I will, as much as I can get you, I will get you.
Yeah, we'll work with Donna to get you something.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the interruption, Chair.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, I guess we should move on then to, exemptions.
Yes, moving on to exemptions, BC 2020-636, Department of Development, requesting to amend Board of Control Approval Number BC 2019-721, dated September 30th, 2019, which amended Board of Control Approval Number BC 2014-316, dated December 22nd, 2014, which approved an alternative procurement process, which resulted in an award recommendation to Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corporation in the amount not to exceed $9 million to demolish vacant, abandoned nuisance or blighted structures owned by the land bank for the period January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2020, by extending the time period to December 31st, 2021. No additional funds required.
Good morning, this is Sarah Parks Jackson from the Department of Development. Approval of this amendment will allow us to submit amendments to the land bank's agreement to allow them additional time to complete demolitions. Demolitions in general got slowed down due to COVID and contractors not having staff available to complete the assignment, so we are requesting approval of this item.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Trevor.
Seconded by Mr. Magler. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-637, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 3941, which will result in an award recommendation to WellPath LLC in the amount not to exceed $4,566,261 for healthcare and management services at the Juvenile Court Detention Center for the period January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023.
Good morning, Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. The court is currently requesting an exemption to move forward with a contract with WellPath, who will provide medical services for our juvenile court detention center. We did attempt to issue an RFP for this project back in August. However, we received no bids at the time. So following that notification, we kind of regrouped and started reaching out to individual vendors that maybe were on the plan holders list, or we knew are located in other detention centers within the state, to try to get some feedback as to if this project would be feasible for anybody, or if there was something that we could maybe change to kind of help get somebody in here. We also worked with all of our local providers as well and checked their availability and their feasibility to do a project such as this. So after numerous conversations and countless negotiations, we finally were able to secure WellPath. They're more of a national company. We did contact some other detention centers that have utilized them currently and in the past, and they are spoken very highly of. We had to seek the exemption based upon the fact that we absolutely critically need medical services on January 1st of this year, or of 2021 rather. And due to the fact that the first kind of process we attempted failed, we needed to move quickly so that we could have services in place.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions from the board on this item?
Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity.
Yes, Lenore. Yeah.
Yes, the question I have for the vendor for juvenile court, is the vendor registered?
Yes, they are.
Okay, any further questions for Lenora? Okay, any questions from the board members in this item?
Mr. Chair, this is Trevor, just one.
Yes.
Sarah, our current provider, when will they continue services through? If I'm a little worried about that start date, right? Because 1/1, will they continue to cover the medical services until WellPath fully into the detention center?
So our current provider is University Hospitals, and we've had numerous discussions with them regarding kind of a transition phase. And they are currently struggling with the fact that they are unable to staff the detention center medical unit because all the staff is aware that the contract was ending. They can't even find temporary nurses to do any sort of coverage due to COVID. So it's our understanding that they will be out of the building on December 31st. WellPath does have extensive experience in quick transition periods, and they are already in communication with our detention administration as well as University Hospital to try to make this as a seamless transition as possible.
Okay, and then, did the court reach out to all of, like, the local hospitals just to see if they had interest? Obviously, University Hospitals did not, but were other hospitals asked if they wanted to provide medical services?
So we reached out to Metro and Cleveland Clinic, and they both declined. We also tried to get in contact with someone over at St. Vincent's, but apparently they don't have pediatric care. We did speak to UH about the possibility of continuing. However, they had a lot of stipulations to that, and their cost was much higher than what WellPath is offering us. So we did check with, all the local providers, and no one seems to be interested.
Thanks, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Any final questions from the board? Hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second. Trevor.
Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Before we move on to consent agenda, I believe we do have the prosecutor on the line. Is that true, Pete?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. If the clerk would reread the item again.
Sure. Item BC 2020-630, County Prosecutor's Office submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 3505, which will result in an award recommendation to MNJ Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $43,492 for a state contract purchase of 30 replacement HP EliteBook 850 notebooks and related accessories, and 4 HP LaserJet Pro laser printers, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Hi, this is Pete Zaghetti from the prosecutor's office. This is a standard replacement, rolling replacement of notebook computers that have exceeded their life. The units that are being replaced are all in approximately 6 to 10 year range. All past their useful life. So it's just a standard replacement. And the printers, there's also 4 very old printers that we're refreshing at this time also.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Councilman Miller.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-631, County Prosecutor's Office submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 3512, which will result in an award recommendation to MNJ Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $44,265 for a state contract purchase of 3 data backup storage drives, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Yes, this and the remaining item are both for the replacement of our primary backup infrastructure, as well as establishing an off-site disaster recovery implementation at the juvenile court.
Okay, thank you. Again, Pete, are there any questions from the board on this item? Hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Miller.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2020-632, County Prosecutor's Office submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 3508, which will result in an award recommendation to MNJ Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $7,766.20 for a state contract purchase of a data protection management server, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Yes, this component is the piece that sits here at the Justice Center. The storage and existing servers we have become part of disaster recovery at juvenile court.
Thanks again, Pete. Any questions from the board on this item? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Robert.
Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Moving on then back to consent agenda, correct?
Yes, consent agenda items number BC 2020-638 through 640.
Okay, board members, please take a moment to take a look at the items and feel free to speak with any questions or comments. Kind of a short list today. Are there any questions from the board on today's consent? Okay, hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. With that, are there any other business?
We do have other business. We have a time-sensitive mission-critical item, BC 2020-641, Office of the Medical Examiner, recommending an award on a purchase order to Vertiv Corporation in the amount not to exceed $8,346.59 for battery and parts replacement and service for the automated fingerprint identification system for the fingerprint lab.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. So this was a required fix of the battery system, backup battery system for, installing the new APIS system. Apparently, we had built this, room out especially for, APIS and had installed the UPS system, but, the system, had never been transferred from the city of Cleveland over, to this office, and so the batteries that were in the UPS had never been, utilized, and we needed to make sure that they were, in working order before we installed the new equipment.
Thank you, Hugh. First, I will make a motion to, that's already on the agenda, Karen?
Yes, we don't have to amend.
Okay. Is there any questions from the board on this particular item?
This is Nan Baker.
Go ahead, Dan.
I'm sorry, there was a lot of interruption at the time of the amount. What is the amount for this,
It is
proposal?
$8,346.59.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McAleer, you had a question, sir?
Mr. Chair, that was some question. People were signing off, so I couldn't hear what the dollar amount was. I just was gonna ask for that.
Yeah, 8346.59. Yep.
Thank you, Mike.
Sure. Okay, with that being said, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trevor.
Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, item approved.
Thank you.
Moving on, any other, business?
No other business?
Okay, at this point in time, we'll ask for public comment. Is there any public comment? Please speak now. Okay, there's no public comment. I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Miller.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.